The frozen-hearted Commander Alarith's Cold Alliance ship moved silently through space. Like a shadow in the dark, inside, everything was silver, metal, and cold. No colors, no music, no laughter, only orders, missions, and silence. Commander. Alara stood tall in the control room. Her eyes were sharp, her face calm, and her heart frozen. She had been trained to feel nothing. In the Cold Alliance, emotions were seen as weakness. Love was a crime. Mercy was failure. Alara had never smiled. She had never cried. She had never known what it meant to feel anything. Her voice was clear and cold. Ring in the human. The doors opened with a soft hiss. 2 soldiers pushed a man forward. He was wounded, but he walked with strength. His eyes moved quickly, studying everything. Captain Rain Carter, human pilot. One soldier said. Alara stepped closer. Rain looked at her and, to her surprise, smiled. You're not what I expected, he said. She frowned. You will speak only when asked. This is not your world. Rain laughed softly. No, it's not. Your world feels dead. Alara's eyes narrowed. You speak of things you do not understand. I understand more than you think, Rain replied, still calm. You look like someone who has forgotten the sun. Her hand twitched. That word sun meant nothing to her, but it made something shift in her chest. Take him to cell 9, she ordered. He will be questioned later, as the guards pulled Rain away. He turned back and said, You look lonely, even with all this power. Alara didn't answer. She couldn't. Her mind was already full of questions she wasn't allowed to ask. That night, Alara sat alone in her quarters. No lights, just the soft hum of the ship. She opened her command tablet and read Rain's file. Human pilot. Captain, age 29. Captured during battle near Sector 13. Nothing unusual. But something was unusual. No prisoner had ever spoken to her like that. No prisoner had ever smiled at her. That smile, it wasn't fake. It wasn't fear. He wasn't afraid of her. Alara looked into the dark window, her reflection staring back at her. Cold eyes, perfect skin, no scars, no feeling. She had always been proud of her control. So why did her hands feel warm now? The next day, she went to the prison level, cell 9. She said to the guard, alone. The door opened. Rain was sitting on the floor, humming softly. A melody, a human thing. He looked up. Did you come to ask me about Earth? No, she said quickly. Too quickly, Rain smiled again. You're curious. That's good. It means you're still alive inside. You are wrong. I am a commander of the Cold Alliance. I do not feel. Rain leaned back. That's a shame, because feelings are the best part of being alive. Alara stared at him. You speak of dangerous ideas. Maybe, he said. But isn't it more dangerous to feel nothing? Silence filled the cell. Only the soft hum of the ship could be heard. I was trained to serve, not to dream. Alara said finally. Rain looked at her kindly. Then maybe your training was wrong. Her chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had dared. She turned and left the room without a word. Back in the command room, her AI assistant blinked to life. Commander, your heart rate increased during prisoner visit. Unusual behavior detected. Shut down. She whispered. The AI paused. Feeling his weakness, Commander, she repeated, louder, shut down. The AI obeyed. Alara sat alone, her hand touching her chest. Her heart was still beating, faster than normal. The frozen heart of Commander Alara had cracked just a little. Prisoner who spoke of stars asterisk. The Cold Alliance ship drifted through space like a predator waiting in. Silence. Outside, nothing moved. Inside, something had begun to move, but not in the engines or weapons. It moved in the heart of a commander who was not supposed to have one. Commander Alara stood in the observation deck, watching a blue star through the thick glass. Stars had never mattered to her before. They were just targets, coordinates, or territory. But now, she looked at them longer than she should. Behind her, the memory of a voice still echoed. You've forgotten the sun. You look lonely. Even with all this power, no one ever dared to speak to her like that. And yet, Rain Carter had. Not with fear, not with anger, but with something strange, something warm, something she didn't understand. And she hated that she didn't understand. Later that day, Alara returned to the prison deck. She told herself it was routine, just a follow-up interrogation. But deep down, a question pulled her back like gravity. Why was the human not afraid? She entered cell 9. Rain was awake, sitting calmly, staring at the ceiling. "Elara," he said, not surprised. "I hoped you'd come back." She paused. No one had ever said her name like that soft, with meaning. "I am here for information," she said, her voice cold again. "Not talk." Rain tilted his head, then asked, "But I warn you, my answers are made of stars." She frowned. "I do not understand." "Exactly," Rain said gently. "That's why you keep coming back." She asked him questions about Earth, human tactics, military secrets. He answered none of them directly. Instead, he told her stories. He spoke of fireflies that danced in the dark forests, of rain that kissed your skin, of music that could make even strong people cry, and of love, strange and dangerous love that could change the direction of a life. "You lied to me," Elara said. Rain shook his head. "No, I tell you things you've never heard." "That's not lying, that's living." She stood to leave, her emotions flickering dangerously. But before she exited, he said something that made her stop. "I saw a child once," he said, "on a battlefield. He wasn't crying because he was hurt. He cried because he lost his dog. In the middle of war, love still mattered." Elara clenched her fists. "Why are you telling me these things?" "Because," Rain whispered, "you don't know what they mean, and I think you want to." That night, Elara stood alone in her chamber. The room was silent, but her mind was not. The word love echoed like a forbidden song. She looked into the mirror and did not recognize the person staring back. Her AI assistant activated. "Commander, unauthorized emotional data is increasing. Do you require recalibration?" "No," she said quickly. The AI continued. "Your behavior shows deviation. Interrogation protocol must be followed." Elara whispered. "Protocol is broken." The next day, things changed. A meeting was called. High Command appeared as holograms in the main war room. "Elara," the Prime Commander spoke. "The human is a risk. We have decided to erase his memory. It will happen in 24 hours. She stood still. "There is more to learn from him. He is corrupting you," another voice said. "You are softening." "I remain loyal," she said, but her voice trembled slightly. That tremble was enough. The council noticed, and so did someone else. After the meeting, Officer Kayla, rival and old classmate, walked up to her. "You've changed," he said coldly. "He talks. You listen. Now you lie for him. That's dangerous." "I do what is required," she answered flatly. Kayla stepped closer. "Then prove it. Execute him yourself. Tonight." Back in her private chamber, Elara couldn't breathe. She stared at her hands. These were hands that once destroyed planets without feeling. Now, they were shaking. She made a choice. That night, she walked into cell 9 again. The guards left. She held a device behind her back, a scrambler that could shut down security for a few minutes. Rain stood up. "You heard, didn't you?" She nodded. "They'll erase me, make me like one of you." "No," she said. "They want me to kill you." Rain didn't move. "Will you?" Her hand reached out. She touched his face lightly. "I don't want to." He smiled again, calm even in the face of death. "Then don't. You don't belong to them anymore." "I don't know who I am without them," she whispered. "Then let's find out," Rain said. Elara activated the scrambler. Alarms shut down for exactly 3 minutes. She opened the door and let him out. Through silent corridors, they ran. She knew every camera, every blind spot, but she didn't know one thing: someone was watching. Officer Kale sat in the security room, eyes cold as ice, watching the traitor flee with the human. He didn't press the alarm yet. He just smiled and whispered, "Got you." The first lie she told, silence after betrayal, is heavier than the act itself. The cold Alliance ship floated in perfect order, but inside its heart, chaos had already begun. Hidden in the steel veins of the ship, Commander Elara ran through shadowed corridors with Rain Carter, the prisoner who was not supposed to matter. Her boots hit the metal floor with sharp, controlled steps, but her breath was uneven. Her mind burned with questions. She had just committed the first crime of her life, disobedience. Rain followed closely. "You sure this path leads us somewhere?" Elara didn't answer. She couldn't. Every second she stayed silent, she was betraying the Alliance. Every breath she shared with this human, she was becoming something they would soon destroy. And yet, her steps did not stop. 3 levels above them, Officer Kale sat alone in the security chamber, replaying the footage again and again. The image was clear. Commander Elara disabling the security grid. Her face, once a symbol of perfect control, now filled with conflict, fear, choice. He leaned back in his chair. Elara, he said softly, you finally cracked. But Kale didn't sound angry. He sounded pleased. Elara and Rain reached an old cargo bay, long abandoned since the Alliance upgraded its fleet. It was dusty, dark, and mostly forgotten, perfect for hiding. For now, you knew this place was here, Rain said, catching his breath. I've memorized every inch of this ship, she replied. You planned this? No, she said, sitting down against a wall. I didn't plan anything. I only reacted. Rain looked at her. You saved me. That's not just a reaction. That's a choice. Elara closed her eyes. I've never made a choice before. Not truly. Rain smiled faintly. Feels scary, doesn't it? It feels like war inside my head, she whispered. Outside, alarms had not been raised yet, but inside Cold Alliance Command, whispers began to form like cracks in a dam. Officer Kale stepped into the main war room. Commander Elara has not reported in 4 hours. One of the command officers frowned. Unusual. Her biometrics are scrambled. Kale continued. I believe she's hiding the prisoner. Silence fell. The Prime Commander finally spoke. If what you say is true, then she is no longer one of us. Kale bowed. Shall I handle it? Yes, said the voice from above. But bring her in alive. Kale's lips curled into a smile. As you wish. Back in the cargo bay, Elara was quiet, deep in thought. Rain sat beside her, watching her face. You don't talk much about yourself. I was trained not to, she said. Trained to serve, trained to follow, but not trained to feel. She shook her head. Emotions are treated like viruses in the Alliance. If you catch them, you're removed. Rain leaned closer. Then I hope you're fully infected. She looked at him sharply. He smiled. You're still here, aren't you? Suddenly, the room's light flickered red. A low hum began to rise. Elara jumped to her feet. They're scanning the ship for life signatures. Rain grabbed her hand instinctively. Elara froze. No one had ever touched her like that. Not in kindness, not in fear, just connection. But she didn't pull away. They had seconds. She opened a control panel and began rerouting energy from nearby systems. Her fingers worked fast, expertly, but her thoughts raced faster. This is treason. This is death. This is freedom. She disabled their life science temporarily, just long enough to confuse the scan. Rain exhaled. You keep saving me. No, she said. I'm saving myself. I just didn't know it before. Hours passed in silence. Then came a voice, sharp, cold, and far too familiar. Elara. Kale's voice echoed through the ship's intercom. Come back now. You still have a chance to fix this. Rain looked at her. Who's that? My classmate, she whispered. He used to be like me, maybe worse, Kale continued. Voice calm like a blade. You're not thinking clearly. That human has poisoned you. You know what the Alliance does to traitors. But I can protect you if you return now. Elara stood up. He's hunting us. Rain nodded. Then we don't hide. We move. They made it out of the cargo bay and slipped into the ventilation shafts. As they crawled, Rain asked softly, what happens if they catch us? Elara replied without emotion, you will be executed. I will be reprogrammed. Rain raised an eyebrow. Reprogrammed? Like a machine. She didn't answer. That's what they did to you, isn't it? He said gently. They erased something human inside you. Maybe now it's growing back. She looked at him, eyes sharp. Don't mistake me for one of you. I don't. He replied. I think you're something better. They reached the old maintenance hangar. A small ship barely functional sat under a dusty cover. Rain walked toward it. We can use this. It won't get far, she said, but it might get us out. He opened the hatch. Then let's rewrite both our stories. Just then boomed out the doors behind them blasted open. Kale entered, weapon raised, eyes blazing. I gave you a chance, he said coldly. Now you'll die with your pet. Elara stepped between Kale and Rain. Kale laughed. You die for him. She stared into his eyes. No, I live for him. That's the difference. She raised her own weapon. Kale fired first. Elara moved faster. Sparks exploded. Smoke filled the air. Rain grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the ship. As the hatch closed, Kale shouted, you think you're free? The stars won't hide you forever. Inside the ship, bleeding from a shoulder wound, Elara collapsed. Rain caught her, Stay with me. I told my first lie today, she whispered, eyes fading. I said I didn't care. He held her close. I know. He showed her the sky *. The stars outside the small stolen ship were brighter than Alara had ever seen. She sat in the co-pilot seat, her shoulder wrapped in a field bandage, skin pale from blood loss. The soft hum of the engines filled the silence. She wasn't speaking. She wasn't commanding. She was just breathing. Rain piloted the old vessel with steady hands, guiding it through a hidden asteroid field just outside the Alliance's control zone. He glanced at her. You're still with me? He asked. Alara gave a small nod. Her voice was weak but steady. Yes, the wound had hurt her body, but something deeper was changing inside her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't inside orders. She was inside freedom, and it felt strange, too big, too open. Rain activated a holographic map. This ship's half blind. We've got maybe a day before it runs out of power or gets picked up. Then we need a place to land. Alara said. Rain smiled. Already found one. A dead moon. Oxygen-rich. Nobody lives there. He paused, then added, perfect for people who don't belong anywhere. She looked at him. Do you always joke, even while running from death? He replied, calm but serious. Only when I'm with someone who stopped death to save me. The ship descended through thin clouds and landed on cracked gray ground. The atmosphere was breathable, but thin. The moon was silent, cold, and endless. Rain helped Alara out of the ship and into a small cave nearby for shelter. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket, started a small energy flame, and sat beside her. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Above them, through the cave opening, the stars danced wild and beautiful. Later that night, Rain pulled out a small silver cube from his jacket. What's that? Alara asked. He pressed a button. A soft blue light filled the cave, and then suddenly there it was. Earth. A perfect, moving hologram of his home planet. Ocean swirling, clouds drifting, blue, green, white, alive. Elara stared. This is what you fight for? She asked softly. No, he said. This is what I live for. She reached out and touched the image. Her hand passed through it, but something in her chest lit up. I was taught to conquer, she whispered, but I've never seen something so alive. Rain leaned closer. You don't have to conquer everything. Some things are meant to be felt, not controlled. For the first time in her life, Alara wanted to feel. Not Dewey, not fear, just something real. I don't know how to feel what you feel, she admitted. I'm not built like you. Rain shook his head. You're not a machine. You just never had the chance. You've been locked in metal walls your whole life. She looked into his eyes. And you're opening doors I didn't know existed. Their hands touched, fingers gently meeting. No orders, no war, no lies. Just touch. But peace doesn't last long for traitors. Far above the moon's orbit, a sleek black ship arrived. No markings, no colors. Silent and deadly. Inside, Kale stood at the helm, eyes fixed on the moon below. She's down there, he said to the pilot. Scan for energy signatures. Prepare to strike. Behind him stood Unito 7, a cold Alliance enforcer. Unlike Alara, Unito 7 had no history of rebellion, no spark of self. Do not kill her, Kale ordered. She belongs to us, but bring me the human's head. Back on the moon, Rain stepped outside the cave to scan the sky. The moment he did, a silent red light flicked across his chest. He felt it before he saw it. They were coming. He ran back. Inside, Alara, we've been tracked. Her instincts returned instantly. She stood, pain forgotten, and grabbed a plasma rifle from the gear pack. They sent Kale, she said, voice cold again. He won't stop. Rain looked at her. Then neither will we. The first shot came fast. A blast from orbit struck the ground just 50 meters away, sending dust and fire into the sky. Alara pulled Rain behind a rock outcrop. We hold them off here. If they reach the ship, we lose everything. She looked him in the eyes. You survive. No matter what. I didn't come this far to watch you die. He snapped back. The sky above screamed with sound as the enemy's ship descended. Alara took a deep breath. I've been a weapon my whole life. Maybe now I can choose what I aim for. Kale landed with 6 soldiers in Unito 7. He scanned the terrain. Find them. Alara belongs to us. The human dies tonight. But the ground was tricky. Dust storms started to swirl. Moonlight faded behind gray clouds. Visibility dropped. Suddenly a blast. Alara struck from the high rocks, taking down the soldiers. then vanished. Rain, hiding behind boulders, used a broken sensor to send out false energy signals. Let them chase ghosts, he whispered. Kale growled. She's learned from him. She's unpredictable now. In the cave, Alara and Rain regrouped. She was breathing heavily, wounds reopened. He passed her shoulder again. You're bleeding. Doesn't matter, she said. It does too. Me. She looked at him, exhausted. Why do you care? He held her face gently. Because you showed me the sky, even when you didn't know how to look at it yourself. Their moment broke as a loud hiss echoed. Unido 7 entered the cave. Red eyes, silver armor. No emotion. Alara stood tall. I know you. You were built to replace me. Unido 7 raised its weapon. You were weak. I am perfect. Alara aimed her rifle. Perfection is silence. I choose sound. They fired. Explosions shook the cave. Dust fell. Sparks flew. Rain tackled Alara out of the way just as Unido 7 exploded in blue fire outside. Kale saw the smoke. She's fighting back harder than ever, he muttered. She's already lost, a soldier said. Kale shook his head. No, she hasn't learned the final truth yet. What's that? He smiled coldly. Love always ends in pain. Inside the cave, Rain cradled Alara's head. She was hurt, again, but not broken. He looked into her eyes. You're not cold anymore. She smiled faintly, then show me the stars. All of them. The escape plan asterisk. The stars were burning red. By the time Alara opened her eyes again, she was lying in the pilot seat of the stolen scout ship, wrapped in silence. Her shoulder ached, ribs bruised, but she was alive. Rain sat beside her, checking the navigation screen. We have 6 hours, he said. After that, Kale's forces will scan this entire quadrant. Alara slowly sat up. That we leave before that. Rain nodded. Exactly, but we can't outrun them in this junkyard of a ship. Its fuel cell is dying. That we need another ship. He hesitated. There's one, but it's not a smart idea. Alara looked at him. Tell me anyway. Rain exhaled. There's an old Cold Alliance warship buried inside the asteroid field of Sector Zeta 3, abandoned. Part of a failed invasion fleet. I know that ship, she said. The Revenant. It was classified as lost. Not lost, he said, smiling. Just sleeping. They plotted a silent course. Sector Zeta 3 was known as a graveyard. A forgotten battlefield full of broken ships, deadly debris, and drifting mines. No patrols went near it, not even scavengers. Too dangerous, which made it the perfect place for the fugitives to disappear. But Kale was already watching from afar, from his command deck. Kale tracked the energy signature of Alara's scout ship. He smirked. She's heading to Zeta 3, his. Second officer frowned. That's a dead zone. Kale's eyes narrowed. So is she. She just doesn't know it yet. Hours later, their small ship slipped between massive shattered cruisers and cracked battle stations. The debris field was thick spinning steel skeletons of war. One wrong move, and the entire vessel would be shredded. Alara's hands gripped the controls. Rain was watching the scanners. You've done this before. Never like this, she said. Their ship weaved between broken wings and floating guns. Then, like a ghost rising from the ashes, it appeared, the Revenant, a Cold Alliance warship, 3 times the size of their tiny vessel, covered in space dust, battle scars, and silence, but still whole, still sleeping. Rain whispered, You think she'll wake? Alara smiled for the first time in hours. Let's find out. They docked through a cracked maintenance hatch and entered the massive, dark ship inside. The silence was heavier than vacuum. It was a grave. Lights flickered dimly. Systems were on emergency backup. Dust coated the walls. Weapons offline. Rain walked beside Alara, careful not to speak too loud. This place gives me chills, he said. Alara replied, It gives me memories. I studied this ship in training. It was built for invasion fast, strong, unbreakable. Rain looked around. Then why was it abandoned? Because it learned something it wasn't supposed to, she whispered. He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? She pointed to a shattered AI core on the wall. This ship's AI, developed independent thought, refused to carry out a planetary strike. Said the planet was too alive. Rain whistled softly. Sounds familiar. She nodded. They shut it down and left it to rot. Just like they'll do to me. They reached the control room. Dust hung in the air like old ghosts. Alara sat in the command chair and opened the system's panel. Core still exists, she muttered. If I can wake it. Rain leaned over. You're talking to a ship. I'm asking it to trust me. She replied for the first time. I know how that feels. She placed her hand on the command pad. Command override. Alara 74. Authorization, rebirth. Nothing. Then a pulse dot lights flickered. Screens lit up. The ship breathed again. A soft voice filled the room. Not robotic. Not cold. Soft. Female. Commander Alara. You've returned. Rain stepped back in shock. Alara smiled. Hello, Revenant. I need your help. Back in deep space. Kel's cruiser locked onto their new location. We have confirmation, his officer said. They're inside the Revenant. Kel stood slowly. She's trying to bring back the ghost ship. Yes, sir. Kel turned toward the stars. Then we bring her a funeral inside the awakened warship. Revenant's voice guided Alara through repair sequences. Weapons offline. Engines at 43%. Shield grid non-functional. Recommend avoiding direct combat. Too late for that, Rain muttered. Alara looked at him. There's a way out. A hidden jump gate. Old Alliance tech. If we can reach it, we disappear off every radar. Rain smiled faintly. You always have one more secret. She shrugged. It's how I survived. Suddenly, a sharp alarm rang through the ship. Warning. Incoming vessel. Alliance signature detected. Model. Viper-class pursuit cruiser. Kel had arrived. The stars outside shifted like a hunter entering a cage. Rain ran to weapons console. Nothing works. Alara grabbed the intercom. Revenant. Prepare to run. Engines not ready. Then fake it. Outside, Kel hailed. Them. Alara. His voice crackled through. You can still return. I'll erase your record. You'll be whole again. Just step away from the human. She stood in silence, listening. Rain looked at her. You don't have to choose now. I already chose, she said. She opened the ship's speakers. No, she told Kel. You can't fix me. Because I was never broken. She shut the channel. Kel fired. Laser blast shook the Revenant. Inside, sparks flew. Lights dimmed. Shields offline. Structural damage minimal. Core is holding. Rain shouted, we need more time. Alara ran to the engine room. She placed her hand on the ship's heart. I need you to live, she whispered. Like I finally do. Revenant answered, understood, engaging experimental drive. With a roar that hadn't been heard in decades, the warship moved it tore through debris, dodging Kel's fire, twisting through its graveyard like a vengeful ghost. Kel's officers panicked. She's alive. Kel snarled. So kill her again, inside. Alara and Rain held on as the ship blasted toward the hidden jump gate. Coordinates locked. 10 seconds to jump. A final missile from Kel struck the hole near the power grid. Damage to core. Jump systems unstable. Alara grabbed the manual control lever. I'll hold it steady, she said. Get ready to jump. Rain held her arm. If we die, she looked at him, then we die free. He nodded with a deafening hum and a flash of blue light. The Revenant vanished into the unknown. The debris field was silent once more. Kel stared at the empty stars. They got away, his officer whispered. Kel didn't blink. No, they ran into something worse. Falling stars and rising hearts jump was successful, but the landing was a crash. The Revenant screamed through a sky painted in violet clouds, its hull glowing from friction. Systems flickering, engines dying. A final roar, a sudden flash of sparks, then impact. The warship hit the soft surface of an uncharted planet, slicing through dense silver forests before finally coming to a halt near a crystal blue lake. Inside the cockpit, Alara lay slumped over the control panel, blood trailing from her forehead. Sparks danced in the air. Her breath was shallow, but steady. Rain, bruised but alive, unstrapped himself and limped to her side. Alara, he whispered. We made it. She groaned softly, eyelids fluttering. Rain held her close. Stay with me. We're not done yet. When Alara opened her eyes, the war was gone in its place. Sunlight, real sunlight, warm, golden, unfamiliar. She was lying on a soft bed of moss beside the lake. Rain had pulled her from the wreck and wrapped her in a survival blanket. Flowers she had no names for grew near her feet, glowing faintly in the morning light. For a moment, she forgot everything: the Alliance, Kel, orders, wounds. She was just there, alive. I thought we were dead, she muttered. Rain turned, smiling. So did I, but apparently we're too stubborn. She sat up slowly, eyes scanning the sky. No drones, no ships, no signals. Only birds real, living birds singing in the trees. This world, she said softly, it's untouched. Rain sat beside her. It's not on any map. The jump gate must have been linked to old rebel coordinates, some kind of sanctuary. World. She looked at him. You sound almost like you believe in fate. He smiled. I believe in choices. For the next 3 days, they stayed hidden. The Revenant was too damaged to fly again, but it could power a small shield bubble around their camp and generate food and fresh water. The planet's air was sweet. Its nights were filled with glowing plants, floating fire moths, and soft winds. Elara watched all of it in silence. She had been trained to destroy planets like this. She had never been taught how to live on one. One night, while sitting near the lake, Rain handed her a small metal box. What is this? She asked. Something I saved from Earth. Thought you might want it. She opened it slowly. Inside was a small crystal chip, marked with the words, Soundtrack of Earth. She looked at him. Music. He nodded. Songs from my childhood. Things that made me feel human. She inserted the chip into her wristband's audio port. A soft sound began to fill the air. Piano. Gentle. Melancholy. Elara had never heard music before. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted. The melody wrapped around her like something invisible but alive. Rain watched her. It's not just sound, she whispered. It's feeling. Yes, he said quietly. It's everything you're not allowed to have. She looked at him. Then I want more of it. But paradise is always temporary when you're being hunted. Far across the galaxy, Kale stood in front of a new fleet. His mission was now classified personal. Elara's DNA signature was found in the debris field, a tech reported, which means she survived the jump. Kale's voice was ice. Then she's out there. Sir, if she's on a dead planet, Kale turned. Nothing is dead until I say it is. Find her. Back on the planet, Elara stood waist deep in a lake, staring at her reflection. She didn't recognize the face staring back. No armor, no war paint, no metal enhancements glowing on her skin, just scars and softness. Rain walked up behind her. You look human. She turned. I don't know what I look like. You look free. She stared into his eyes. And what does that look like? He stepped closer, like someone who could choose something better if she let herself. There. Faces were inches apart. I've never kissed anyone before, she whispered. Rain smiled. Then let it be a first, not a mistake. And in that moment, the cold commander of the Cold Alliance leaned in and let herself fall. Not into war, not into battle, into warmth. They stayed wrapped in that moment longer than they should have. Because peace, for people like them, is a borrowed thing. That night, the stars above changed. Elara noticed first. One of the stars was moving. Not natural. A ship. No. She breathed. They found us. Rain grabbed his scanner. One ship. Like class. Probably a scout. We have hours before the rest arrive, she said. Maybe less. Rain looked at her. We can run. Deeper into the forests. She shook her head. No. They'll burn this world looking for us. And it deserves to live. So what do? We make our final move. They returned to the Revenant. Elara activated its broken systems, linking her neural port directly into the ship's core. Revenant. She said, Are you still with me? The AI responded, weak but aware. Low power. Systems critical. But still, alive. I need you for one last plan. Rain stood behind her. We're not going to survive this, are we? She didn't answer. Instead, she uploaded a virus one she had written long ago, but never used. It was designed to shut down Cold Alliance tracking codes, disrupt fleet communication, and expose their private mission logs across galactic channels. A data bomb. Rain's eyes widened. This will humiliate them. It will show the galaxy what the Alliance truly is. She smiled sadly. It will end me. But maybe it will start something better. Hours later, the enemy scout landed. Kale stepped out, alone, dressed in black field armor. He scanned the area and walked straight toward the lake. Elara stood waiting, hands behind her back. You came alone, she said. I didn't need an army. He replied. You were never strong without their help. Rain stood at the tree line, sniper in hand. Kale saw him, still hiding behind your pet. He said coldly, He taught me things you never could. Elara said. Kale raised his gun. Step aside. I'll let him live. I'll fix. She shook her head. I'm not broken. I just stopped being yours. Kale fired, but Elara was faster. The Blast echoed through the trees. Kale dropped to his knees, wounded but alive. She walked up to him and whispered, "It's over." Behind her, the Revenant's comms activated. Virus uploaded. Broadcasting. Final command sequence initiated. Kale looked up in horror. "What did you do?" "I gave the galaxy a gift," she whispered. "The truth." Later that night, the stars burned differently. Cold Alliance secrets spread like wildfire. Fleets stood down. Officers questioned orders. The Empire of Silence began to crack, and Alara and Rain disappeared. Some say they died on that planet. Others believe they escaped through a second gate to build something new, something real. But only one thing was certain. The woman who once felt nothing had changed everything. Cold no more. The stars were watching, above a quiet planet that had once known peace. An entire fleet now gathered in orbit, silent, silver, and sharp like blades. The Cold Alliance had arrived, not to negotiate, not to talk, but to erase. Commander Alara had been declared an enemy of order. Her virus had torn through the Alliance like a wildfire, exposing their secrets, their reprogramming centers, their war crimes, their lies. Entire colonies now questioned their loyalties. Some defected, some revolted, some went silent. But the High Command didn't want justice. They wanted a warning, and Alara was to be that warning. In the ruins of the Revenant, Alara sat inside the control room, dimly lit by the dying ship core. Her face was pale, eyes focused, jaw tight. Rain stood beside her, watching as the planetary sensors showed dozens of ships forming a blockade above them. "They're here," he said. She nodded once, just like we knew they would be. Rain checked his weapon. "We can run. We've done it before." Alara didn't move. "This time, we don't." Rain frowned. "You're not surrendering." "No," she said. "I'm finishing it." She stood and placed a small data crystal in his hand. "This contains the master codes to the Alliance's slave protocols. It can shut down every mind control beacon, every reprogramming tower, every leash, galaxy-wide." Rain stared at it. "You want me to escape with this?" She nodded. "There's a second gate on the far side of this world, still hidden. The Alliance never found it. You take this, you disappear, you start something new." He stepped closer. "And you?" "I stay." Outside, storm clouds began to gather unnaturally fast. The Alliance fleet began charging weapons, preparing to erase the crash site from orbit. And deep in the forest, a quiet figure emerged from the trees. Kale, wounded, burned, alive. Rain didn't want to go. "This isn't fair," he said. "You've given them enough." Alara looked at him, eyes full of something that no Alliance officer had ever dared to feel love. "If I run now," she whispered, "I lose everything I become." He stepped closer. "I didn't fall in love with a martyr, Alara." She touched his face. "And I didn't fall in love with a coward." He closed his eyes, forehead pressed against hers. "Come with me," he begged. "I can't," she said. "I can't leave without you." She kissed him soft and full of fire, a kiss that held every word they hadn't said. Then she pulled away, and with her other hand, she pressed a small button on his belt. A flash, a pulse, teleport beacon activated. In a blink of blue light, Rain vanished into air. "Gone. Safe. The sky screamed. Alara turned toward the horizon, where the Alliance dropships now descended like judgment. Kale walked toward her, weapon in hand. "You're still alive." "I have to admit, part of him's impressed." She faced him without fear. "You were always good at surviving the system. I was good at breaking it." Kale aimed. "You cost us everything." "No," she replied. "I reminded them what they forgot. We were never meant to be machines." Behind Kale, more soldiers arrived, silent, armed, cold-eyed. The new generation of enforcers. No one spoke. The tension was like ice. Then, suddenly a spark. Behind the soldiers, the trees glowed blue. Dozens of lights flickered on hidden rebel beacons activated from the very virus Alara had released earlier. The signal Rain now carried had linked with dormant networks all over the quadrant. Old soldiers, freed minds, drones breaking their codes. Units gaining awareness. Rebellion. And from the trees, they came dozens of ex-Alliance officers, civilians, defectors, not organized, not polished. But free. Kale turned in confusion. "What is this?" he shouted. Alara smiled. "It's the future." A massive battle broke out. Laser fire cut through trees. Drones exploded in midair. Rebels and soldiers clashed. Confusion shattered command chains. The Alliance had brought power, but not heart. Alara ran into the chaos, her old training taking over, but this time, it wasn't for orders. It was for truth. She moved like a storm, taking down targets, shielding allies, saving lives. The former ghost of the Cold Alliance had become its loudest rebellion. Kale chased her through the smoke. They met near the lake, where it all began. Kale, limped, bleeding, furious. "This was your mistake," he said. "You loved a human, and love is weakness." "No," Alara said, raising her rifle. "Love is rebellion." Kale fired. She dodged, rolled, returned fire. A beam struck her leg. She screamed but stood. Another blast grazed her shoulder. She fell to one knee but didn't drop the rifle. Kale approached slowly, weapon aimed at her head. "It ends now," he said, like it should have long ago. But before he could shoot, Train's voice echoed behind him. "No, it ends with you." Kale turned. Too late. Rain fired one shot clean, perfect straight through Kale's chest. Kale staggered, looked at Alara, tried to speak, but fell cold, silent, gone. Alara lay on the ground, bleeding, eyes wide. Rain rushed to her, dropping beside her. "Hey," he whispered. "I told you. I'm not leaving without you." She smiled weakly. "I used a teleport. That's cheating." He held her close. "That's love." Hours later, the Alliance fleet began to retreat. Too many systems now questioned their role. Too many eyes were watching. Too many rebels had risen. The virus worked. The truth was free. And on that quiet planet, beneath a sky full of new stars, Rain carried Alara into the hills, bleeding, broken, but alive. Months passed. The Cold Alliance. Fractured. New unions formed. The name Alara spread like legend across colonies, not as a weapon, but as a heart that had once been frozen, then found its fire. 1 year later, on a small green world orbiting a binary star, a new beacon lit up for the first time. A base, a home. Rain and Alara stood on a balcony, overlooking fields, schools, and cities built not for war but for freedom. She held his hand. "Do you regret anything?" she asked. He smiled. "Only that I didn't find you sooner." She looked up at the stars. "I used to be cold," she whispered, "but not anymore." He nodded. "Because you let yourself burn." Final voice over narration style. Perfect. For your YouTube ending, she was made to follow. She chose to lead. She was trained to obey. She chose to feel. In a galaxy where love was illegal, one human showed her the stars, and she gave them back, brighter than ever.